Unfortunately, I don't even know how to start this. I'm just gonna go into it. Some bad news here on the in the DNN family. This is like the first time we've ever kind of done something like this.
No, for sure.
So if you're in the Discord, you already know this, but unfortunately, my dog Gino passed away this past Thursday. Gino was probably not in a majority of the recordings, but a avid viewer of like pretty much like
you'd hear us reference him for sure.
A majority of the recordings we were doing, he either slept on the couch or he was like sleeping somewhere, or sometimes he'd literally be like wander over and like come under us, and like we would like take his collar off or ignore him, and he'd come down in the middle and give us like the look from over the step, and he'd wander down. But
you could see probably one of us holding him once or twice in a few podcasts.
You can definitely hear him.
That's
on
definitely
a few
true.
podcasts,
Absolutely.
whether he's
more
jiggling
than a few.
Or he started barking, and I'm like fucking like fuming over here. Like I can't tell you how many times
you can
that
see
happened.
Gucci's face when it happens.
Yeah,
you can probably look back
I'm just like, do we stop and address this, or do we just let
continue
it go?
on? Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we addressed it, sometimes we did not. But yeah, it's been a tough week for me and my family. We actually did the Rings of Power and She-Hulk reviews like in the midst of that, and that was not tough, but you know, it was that Tuesday night, so we I'm kind of going into this more than I want to do, but I will. We found out Monday. We rushed him to the ER because he hasn't been doing well like the whole summer. So Monday was kind of like the final straw, and like Tuesday was like the first day he was like on hospice, and yeah, Trio got to say goodbye to him before he left. And yeah, it's been tough. It's going to be tough. If you're watching the video, we have like a lone mic set up on the old stand, and his collars on
as
there.
He was our third host.
Yeah.
Our unannounced host.
Yeah,
our podcast dog.
Yes,
honestly, every good podcast has a podcast dog, and he will not be forgotten.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Gino.
Rest in peace, Gino. Thank you guys for all the love and support. We do appreciate it.
Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Guys, if you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a movie, and that movie is Black Adam. The hierarchy of power of the DC Universe has changed. Here to discuss, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Gooch. Are you ready to talk about this hierarchy and how much the power has changed?
I'm ready. This movie's been a long time in the making. If you weren't abreast of that information, I'm pretty sure Black Adam was on the tongues of The Rock and other people since like Man of Steel.
So I think first I feel like it was Shazam, and then he was like, "No, fuck it, I'm doing Black Adam."
Black Adam, yeah.
And then 15 years later, here we are. Black Adam got his own film, and you know, critical reception has not been great. No. I kind of hate Rotten Tomato scores in general because if someone slightly likes something, they give it it goes fresh. If they slightly dislike it goes splat. So they aren't very much. I still don't think it's the best aggregate for reviews and stuff like that. I mean, you do see a lot of disparities in some regards when it comes to like
having a 27 is utterly.
But what's the fan score on that one?
I think it's like set in the 70s.
Then that's even so. But even the fan score, I don't necessarily take very seriously. I'm glad I'm actually going to remind me before the end to look up how the box office did, because I did want to talk about that.
It is The Rock's highest grossing film.
Okay.
Is highest grossing, I guess, opening weekend.
Okay.
It 120 million.
Okay. All right. I'm wondering how much the budget was on that.
I'm like, compare it to maybe like the Suicide Squad. Like when we talk
I
about
think it
money,
did beat Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad.
Really?
Suicide Squad was underperformed. I don't know if it like did bad. The Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I think
so we're on the same
people
page.
had a bad taste left in their mouth from just the Suicide Squad, and that had to prove itself a bit more. Yeah, so
that was people like Birds of Prey.
Yeah, they did. But yeah, so Gooch, overall, just broad thoughts. What did you think about The Rock's Black Adam?
It's good. I can't deny that. It is not like some of these Rotten Tomatoes scores and like some of the other scores I'm seeing. It's a good movie. It's not perfect by any means. It definitely has some issues. That really lying in the human cast of characters, I really just didn't care much for, and I would have liked to seen a version of that movie where like cut those characters out. Let's just deal with the JSA characters and Black Adam. But I feel like you always need that human element to ground shit.
Sure.
Like look at Transformers, they do the same thing. Well, Transformers I think is just like stereotypical, always have human characters alongside the Autobots for like no apparent reason.
Yeah, to be you in the movie
right, to
or
ground
something.
to ground it.
Yeah.
The action was great. The costumes were great. The CGI, especially for Dr. Fate, we know he was an entirely CGI character.
Yeah.
Looked amazing. His powers looked awesome. There is some bad CGI with our villain Sabak. He did not really look good. And the villain, like most comic book movies seem to have, are just like really throwaway villains that you just couldn't care less about.
Yeah.
And Sabak is one of those. Absolutely. Nobody's going to be talking about Sabak in a year.
For sure. No, I agree. He'll be gone within the eighth.
But The Rock, he is Black Adam through and through.
I agree.
I think he played the part.
I was
insanely
afraid
well.
he was going to just be The Rock.
He's not at all.
And he's not. He plays it very differently.
He's you know why I kind of like this movie? The Rock takes himself more seriously than the character Teth Adam, Black Adam, takes himself extremely seriously throughout the movie. And I think that works for it.
Yeah.
And like, of course, they get in those, like, this kid is like, you need a catchphrase, and he's like saying shit. And I'm like, ugh, typical, like, almost Marvel-esque writing there. And I'm just like, yeah, we gotta like, how do we get rid of that?
It's funny, the catchphrase thing worked for me really well because I didn't feel like they drove that.
What does he say?
He says the man in black sent you. I actually think
tell him the man in black
the
sent you.
way he plays it at the end there, it works for me, but I do agree. So there's a good amount of comedy in here that I think falls flat.
Yeah, I'm just like, more so it's like, okay, like how do we get away from that writing? Like what can we put in its place that could be better? But sure, we're going to get more in depth in just a second, but Trio, what do you think?
So I think this is an amazing second act of a movie sandwiched in between an incredibly crappy third act and an okay first act.
Okay,
Black Adam's
I
great.
can agree.
I think the beginning's just very slow to get off. I like two of the human characters. I despise the kid. He was the most annoying part to me. I think they use them to actually like explore some very...
The woman's name.
I can't remember her name either, but I liked her a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I think they use them to explore a lot of interesting ideas, like when the JSA shows up and they're like,
I agree.
coming to save us from the guy who's finally gives us a savior when we've been under the control of these pieces of shit for 2 years. Like, what is justice? I thought that idea was actually pretty highbrow and very interesting and something we've never really seen in these movies before. So I will give them a lot of credit on that.
Well said.
But other than that, I mean, yeah, the shining stars are the JSA, especially Dr. Fate. Like,
Pierce Brosnan
is chewing the scenery in this.
He's great.
And I think if you give what he has to another actor, I don't know if it works as well. I think he really ties it together and makes that character so interesting in a very short amount of time.
The first Dr. Fate? I know
I'm
there are
pretty
others.
confident. Yes, I think so.
Because then we have like Zatara's famously Dr. Fate for a little while. Other people wear the helm of Naboo
for sure.
In the comics, but like it's usually Ken Conley, and I don't think there are many other mainstays. I could be so wrong about that. Like my Dr. Fate knowledge is like Injustice, Young
very minimal.
Justice. Yeah, it's like he's not really.
There is a new
shown.
guy under it right now. I can't remember who it is, but
And that's a great thing we're seeing in this movie. None of these characters, even Black Adam himself, we've seen before. We get Hawkman, and it looks like Carter Hall is
awesome.
It's not like Cater Hall, like he's not a Thanagarian, and I'm fine with that.
So what made you say that? Because I think he could easily be they kind of just throw you neck deep into that Hawkman's a thing.
Right, like he references Nth Metal.
He says the whole place is built out of it, right?
And he's rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's loaded. Like
So you think they're going with, is the reincarnation version of Thanagarian too? Like how they do it in the comic books? Because he's like reincarnated throughout history, so he's still a Thanagarian in that?
I think so.
Or is it like something to do with mythology?
So there's the Thanagarian one where they're totally aliens.
Yeah, they're like an alien,
which is like Justice League Unlimited. Like Hawkgirl is literally from Thanagar.
Makes sense.
There's the mythology one, which is what
like Legends of Tomorrow did, right? Yeah.
I don't necessarily think plays into the Thanagarian origins, but sometimes
I think
it
it's
does.
more
And then there's like when they're just like, I guess like. There's, I guess, a more
they just
stripped
build
down
like a
one,
hawk
right?
suits
Where they're just
and
kind of
yeah.
like normal people. Like his name is Carter Hall, where in the Thanagarian one, he's Katar Hall. It's
No, that makes sense.
I forget Hawk Girl's name off the top of my head.
And another thing I will say that I thought was going to really annoy me, and I said it a bunch of times before we got into this, was like, can a hero kill? I'm like, yes, they can. Captain America does it all the time. I feel like we've kind of debunked
And
that
they
thing.
brought it up
But
quickly and kind of like quickly like
well,
went
but I
away
think
from
the way
it.
they actually like kind of explored it throughout of like Hawkman constantly having this thing like, dude, like, yeah, kill people if you need, but like you're just blatantly the way that these two different people are attacking the situation actually was much more interesting when it played out in the movie than I expected it to be. And I will give them credit for that, for making what I felt like was going to be a bit of a trite theme interesting and cool. But yeah, the villain, you could literally... I almost wish they committed to not having a villain.
A villain.
And just
Yeah,
kind of
I think I
had
would
that
agree.
conflict between Black Adam and the JSA, you know, be main stage. But yeah, I think Cyclone kind of gets shafted the most in this, which kind of sucks. But I really like her power, the look of her powers, and her costume. I love the woman playing her. I can't remember her name either. But and then you had Noah Centino or whatever as Atom Smasher, was kind of this classic like, I'm kind of
noob.
dumb, but
The
I'm
noob.
not. Yeah, like I'm
Adam
getting my feet
Smasher
wet.
too.
Yeah,
He's
which
the
who was his dad? Who plays his dad? Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler.
That was a fun pull. I like that.
I
a
was
lot.
I was kind of like random, but all right.
It is funny how we've gone to this point, though, and I think I mentioned this to you in the movies, where at the beginning, Superman showed up and everyone was like, what is this? Of this universe, I should say. What is this? What's happened? There's a man that can fly. But then you realize, like, well, no, but the JSA has been operating over here, and, like, you realize that a lot more superhero-y things has gone on in this universe, which is fine. But this movie made me want a JSA prequel of some kind. I don't know. I will give Hawkman and Dr. Fate a lot of credit. Pearson, who plays Hawkman?
I can look it up.
I got to give them a lot of credit for building that camaraderie in one movie and making me feel like these guys have been friends for as long as Ken has been alive. Aldous Hodge. He was awesome. I really enjoyed him in this.
And Quintessa Swindle plays Cyclone, and she identifies as they, them, and I remember when they casted her, I think she's the first, I don't know.
Non-binary.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I think Ezra Miller came out after he was cast as non-binary. I'm pretty confident about
before
that.
I thought Flash it was before.
I could
But
be
I could
wrong.
be wrong. Anywho,
Because I remember when they first casted her, and they made a point, obviously, like that's a classic headline nowadays. But yeah, they were great. I
just
did,
underserved for me.
I did like Atom Smasher's like kind of noob role, where she was kind of like still new, but like kind of knew the inner workings of like being on the JSA and working on a team a little bit more than him. And then of course Pierce Brosnan is the aged original JSA member. He's been around for 100 years, and they've like officially stated that. I'm like, that's really cool. I kind of like how they like kind of bake that in, because he does seem like a little like out of everyone else's
World
league.
weary,
yeah, veteran status.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the JSA was awesome. No explanation as why there's the JSA and the Justice League.
That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of this has just been kind of thrown now, which is fine, and it works in this movie, and I think that they build it fine. But it's just been kind of thrown against the wall.
Waller's in it, and she's in the trailers, and then what's her name?
I can't remember her name. She's from Peacemaker. She's the blonde lady.
And the Suicide Squad. James Gunn's wife, Jennifer Holland. I think
believe
is her real
that's
name.
correct. I can't remember her character name, but no, that was a nice piece of connectivity that kind of married the Gunverse with the DCEU.
Whatever the fuck we're doing.
Yeah, whatever we're calling it.
Because it's still as shaky as it was before. This doesn't really like establish like clearly Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
Well, and we'll talk about the end credit scene later. And some other things, but like DCEU is still like, what are we doing still? You know,
it's like this definitely felt like more of a world building movie than others, for better or for worse. That's where I do feel like you could tell that they were trying to get some things going, which is fine. And I do love that the JSA has been active. That's cool. We'll talk more about a thing that I'm more disappointed with near the end.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, just there's a few things I could pluck out. Villain was not great.
Yeah.
the human characters I did like. I did not like the kid. He felt like Freddy almost from Shazam, but a more annoying version of it.
Oh, so annoying.
Like, whereas I think Freddy
take him
works-
off this skateboard and fucking slam him over the head with it.
Freddy works really well in Shazam because like he is kind of looking, but he's not overbearing. Whereas this kid was just like, oh my god, like it just felt it was a little too hard.
Like,
and I feel like they were,
get me, inner gang, like 7 times.
there was also kind of, I feel like what they were trying to trick you with that just didn't work at all in this, and I don't know why they did it. There was kind of a reveal near the end.
Yeah,
with
Ishmael,
Teth himself.
Ishmael.
Oh, that, but also another thing that with Teth's actual identity, I guess.
Oh, okay. I kind of liked that. We'll get into it later. I did want to mention Inner Gang because I feel like Inner Gang is such a prequel.
Deep cut.
Not a deep cut, but a prequel to Darkseid. Because, so for those who don't know what Inner Gang is essentially a gang run by Bruno Mannheim and basically like funded asset-wise by Darkseid. So Darkseid is like feeding...
Like with like apocalyptic
technology and weapons, and they use the bikes, and they're just like, they're like a gang, but they're just like, they have like crazy weapons and shit. And in this, they're just using Eternium-based like weapons and stuff, and it's like, and there's no Bruno Mannheim, and I was kind of like, what if the villain was Bruno Mannheim? Like, that would have made more sense, because Inner Gang is like really like in it, sort of not invading Kahndaq, but like
they're occupying it.
They're occupying. Yeah, thank you. They're occupying Kahndaq, and
for this, what is it called again? What did you use? The mineral that they make Eternium, and that was it. So another thing I was really not a fan
I guess
of,
from the Rock of Eternity, or
I guess so, something like that.
And the crown.
That actually makes sense.
Right.
I really did not like the opening of this, the voiceover and kind of getting you caught up. I
was kind of fine with it.
I was not a fan. I felt like you could have dedicated the first 20 minutes of the movie to actually just showing.
And maybe
that.
The Rock says it. It would have been cooler.
That's what I didn't. I just felt like the voiceover was very not well done. Just on top of being.
Who was it?
I think it was supposed to be a son.
It was a girl.
Was it a girl?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Anywho,
unless it was a little kid.
That really didn't. I think they could have expanded that in the 20 minutes of the first movie. Like add 20 minutes on. Fuck it. Make a 2-hour, 20-minute movie. Give me that first little bit, or cut out some of the stuff near the end. But yeah, that was probably something I was just kind of like, okay. I think it's very hard to do a catch-up beginning like that and have it be successful. One of the major ones is like Lord of the Rings. That kind of gives you a bit of a prequel at the beginning, and it's just someone kind of narrating over it. So it's a tough thing to do. So I'll give them credit for trying, I guess, but didn't really hit home for me. Gooch, spoilers?
Sure.
All right. Spoiler.
I think I had something else to say, but fine. That's fine.
Are you sure? Was there?
No, that would, but like, it doesn't. Yeah. I'm
okay.
sure. Yes.
We're gonna get into spoilers now. I think Gooch and I both are saying go see the film.
Yeah, I think it's worth your time. I think it's worth the money. There's really not a lot coming out this holiday season.
No,
I mean,
isn't.
we got Avatar later. I think that's like our big
Was
one.
Shazam supposed to come out this year too? Didn't that get pushed back because of that trailer looked really good? I'm actually really excited for that one.
I'm not into the Furies.
Villains. The villain. Yeah, I agree. That was
I'm
the
not
weakest.
into them.
I liked all of the imagery in it. Besides, the villains kind of looked at
like it's like Helen Mirren. It's like, why
I know, and what is her name? Judy. I can't remember the other one.
Not Judi Dench. It's Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu. Okay, that makes more sense.
I want to go back to Kahndaq because I think they do a really kind of different thing. So in the comics, Kahndaq is kind of like an Egyptian civilization, like cut out of time. It's
more
almost
mythical.
It's almost like Wakanda, but instead of technology, it's like they're
magic.
Mythical.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
magical based and mythical based.
Yeah.
And Black Adam is the ruler of Kahndaq.
Yep.
But in this, Kahndaq is a normal, like it was an ancient city. It is now super modernized, typical Middle Eastern kind of look, right?
Yeah.
And
it's been on their occupation for years and such.
Right. I do like the themes they go into, and I guess that is the purpose of the human characters is to go into like, hey, like, we're oppressed, we're a minority, and the JSA doesn't get, and well, in this movie, the JSA like isn't coming to Kahndaq to like save us, like. And like they make a point in the movie to mention that. And it is an interesting.
Her
like,
speech
quandary.
was good. She's like, what the fuck? We've been sitting here being like occupied for millennia years, whatever.
Yeah,
you guys
I think
never
like
show up.
27 years.
You guys haven't showed up. As soon as we get a hero of our own, oh, you need to come and take him away. What the fuck?
And they have this legend of Teth Adam and who he was, and the legend is just that, a legend. It's not necessarily the truth of it is different, which we find out,
So,
which we mentioned
There is
earlier.
so this is a change in his background, right? This isn't how it usually goes.
This is not how it usually goes.
We find this is the thing that they were trying to hide at the beginning, which I don't get why they were trying to, because that man talking to his son was obviously The Rock, just CGI'd down with his voice.
Right.
So it turns out that Teth's son was actually given the powers of the wizards, and then in order to save his dad at some point, and he gets the powers to stop Sabak and to
or the
avenge.
king at the time.
Is he not? I guess he's like one of, I can't remember his.
He was
name.
going to essentially summon Sabak, but he's just the king.
Gotcha.
Guy. I forget.
So
his
yeah,
name.
he was trying. They were trying to mine that mineral to create this crown that would give him the powers of, I guess, Sabak. But his son gets the powers of Shazam. Teth is gonna die, and in order to save him, he gives him his powers. And instead of doing this out of altruicity and for the good justice, he does it for revenge. He goes in and basically can't control his powers because he gets so angry and destroys Kahndaq and the temple at the beginning. And that's how it gets mixed up. I thought that was a good reveal with that his son was the statue. Again, parts of it worked. I almost just wish they did a better job of hiding.
They introduced it to you a
little bit differently. So. Yeah. And that makes sense why he was kind of sitting there at the statue the whole time. I did like the way he was just kind of floating everywhere.
Like thinking.
Yeah. And
he plays Black Adam like exactly how I think I wanted it to be portrayed. And I gotta say, I would love to see him come back in something.
Absolutely.
Or get a sequel. We'll definitely talk later as to the implications. I think we could see a post-credit scene of Black Adam in the Shazam movie 100%. I don't think that's out of the question at all.
Oh, I agree.
And it would be a real mind blower if they hit at him the fact that he is in this sequel.
No, it's true.
Because it is just called The Fury of the Gods.
No, it's true.
Teth Adam, in all intents and purposes, is a god.
Yeah, so he has all the Egyptian, so instead of, I guess, the Greek gods for Billy, he has all the Egyptian gods, which is cool. I like that, and it was cool to see all the wizards. I will say that scene of him getting the powers.
Get the same wizard from Shazam, and they do say Shazam a lot, and I like how they don't really over-explain that, but you as a viewer of DC stuff, I think you can understand he's the same thing as Shazam, which he is.
Yeah,
they're rivals, and they share the same, not opposite.
I mean, they
powers,
do even they reference him
powers.
in Shazam too, right? Don't they go what's that empty seat? And they were and he even says that there's one before you that fucked up. So he's the reason that. So that's
he gets imprisoned.
That does work.
He destroys the Kahndaq.
Yeah,
we forgot to mention that
because I like that idea of they gave it to this kid, and then the kid gave it to his psychopathic dad, and they're like,
I didn't know that's how it worked.
What that you can get? So that's you see Billy with his family members in it. And he gives them all the powers, right?
I guess you're right.
But he uses the staff and stuff like that. So, I think you could kind of pick that apart if you wanted to. Or maybe it does work like that where you can choose to just give all of your the entirety of your power instead of splitting it up.
You know what I just realized? I wonder if we're getting the worm guy in Fury of the Gods. Remember the worm?
Oh, yeah, Mr. That's his main villain. I can't remember his name. I assume he would play some type of part. Maybe he's the one who unlocks the Furies or something like that. Sure. So yeah, they change his origin a bit. It's not just Teth Adams that gets the thing from the wizards and then he just goes crazy. They definitely do their job of making him more of an anti-hero. And even, it's funny, I felt like there was this kind of retroactive history of going back and being no, he was always an anti-hero by The Rock.
I don't think so. Yeah.
And it sort of is, but back at 2005, I have the DC encyclopedia from I think 2005.
Yes.
And he is listed as an anti-hero in there, not as a villain. I was very curious to see if it would say villain, and they can't fix that
Interesting.
And no, it did say anti-villain, or anti-hero, so I will give them a bit of credit on that.
Because you never really see Black Adam doing anything good. I think it's just his ideology.
Well, and I think the thing is he's doing anything to protect Kahndaq, right, in the comics usually.
Right.
So he's a hero to them, for sure. And and even in this, I do think they walk that anti-hero line, and I do love how he is just massacring people. I didn't love that slow-mo shot of it playing Painted Black.
I kind of like that.
It was fine.
Like I said, I really like, especially compared to Marvel action. I don't know why, but the fighting in this seems so much more. Maybe it's like why I think Man of Steel's action works, because you kind of feel it feels like
it feels weighty. Well, even Man
weighty.
of Steel, I feel like was the first
Like
movie.
when those Kryptonians are fighting, you're like, whoa.
It feels real. It feels like they're actually
what is
jumping,
going
like
on?
that momentum would work like that. I feel like that was the first time in movie history where they really nailed the physicality of two kind of godlike forces fighting, like super strong people. And I mean, yeah, the scene with the JSA fighting Black Adam and, Dr. Fate's holding him down, everyone's got... Those are very good, and it's cool to see all of their powers work together, and especially for like someone like, you got a big guy, you got a person who can do wind, and then you have someone with wings, and then Dr. Fate. It worked very well together and went very cohesively, and you did feel as if they were a team that knew how to work together, even though they were kind of new. And the one comedy beats that really did work well for me was between Hawkman and Adam Smasher. Even when he's like, "You almost hit me," and then he throws up the hand.
What is it? We're gonna talk.
Yeah, he's like, "You and me." You and me.
Yeah.
No, it's very good. And Aldous Hodge, again, I can't give him more than enough credit. He was great in this. He was definitely one of my favorites, right behind Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. But yeah, let's talk about the ending. So you get to reveal that this man who was with what's her name at the beginning. I feel bad that I can't remember her name. Adrienne, something like that.
It's a something.
He is an ancestor of the old king that Teth killed, and he's trying to get the Iridium Crown,
So
which will.
I guess he's leading Intergang.
They're fighting the devil, basically. Yeah, like it does.
Like I'm like, what? Who is this guy?
That's the thing.
At first, it looks like he's working for Intergang. But I think
did
he's
like
the head of
Intergang's look,
Intergang.
by the way. I forgot to mention that.
Dude,
the bikes and it looked very cool.
Yeah, they do. They always look a little futuristic.
Very
'cause,
much.
Again, they're being
powered by this
technology
iridium.
Is futuristic. That's
For
kinda
sure.
like the point. And they're usually a Superman thing. They're in Superman the animated series a lot. Yeah.
I was afraid Black Adam wasn't gonna take any hits this whole movie, which he kind of didn't. He kind of was always the strongest guy, but it didn't feel like he was just like getting away with everything and not being able to like he was feeling the punches a little bit, at least from Hawkman.
Yeah,
and
like
things like that.
Eternium was his kryptonite. Essentially.
Absolutely, yeah. Which again, that Rock of Eternity thing, that's a good pull. I didn't even think about that. That's absolutely what that's supposed to be referencing.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But yeah, the ending fight, I thought with Dr. Fate was actually kind of cool. He kind of does, and I hate to compare it, but it's kind of hard not to, he kind of Doctor Stranges with all the different guys.
Yeah.
But dude, the metallic suit, the gloves, everything, just his interface, and even when you see him inside the helmet a little bit,
So
let's
talk. Like why is this CGI good, and why is Marvel so unimpressive to me? I really don't know.
Because I feel I feel like it's tough to compare. I think
I
the
know,
CGI
there really is no total comparison. Dr. Fate is like he's got a much different looking.
Like if you're talking to me about
suit.
the CGI in Avengers Infinity War when Doctor Strange is fucking up Thanos with all his magic, that's on par with this for me.
Oh yeah, sure.
I think in later
Spider-Man,
times
when we have a full cloth
it's
suit
just not
CGI character.
They need time, because some of those shots, especially in Homecoming, they're all CGI and they look fucking awesome, and you can't even tell that it's a CGI suit. It's time. They need to. They're pushing these things through very quick, and they want. And it's a very big problem for the effects industry, and I feel bad for these people. They have a term for it. I can't remember what it is, and that's why we talked about on She-Hulk crunch. But there's
another word.
There was another word that they used in that article that I shared, which was really good, but I can't remember it. They are just pushing people too quickly. They're on a time frame that is not legitimate, and then also they're changing up things last minute. They're doing an entirely new CGI ending in 3 months before the movie.
And just like with our She-Hulk review, you can go check that out now. DelcoNetwork.com. Find your links. Like they even make a joke about it, but I'm like, this isn't a joke.
Yeah,
no.
At this point, that was the most. And even with that, though,
your CGI team has moved on to Wakanda
by the end of that series, that 9th episode, I thought She-Hulk looked amazing, and that's because they had another 2 months to keep working on it, because they can just keep working on it up until the last episode's released. So that I felt like show got progressively better because they were given
TV show budget.
Sure, but I mean those budgets are almost movie budgets for TV shows now. So it's all about time. It's all about taking your moments and focus on where it matters. Like Sabak does look bad in this. He looks very CGI and very ropey at some points. Yeah. And I felt like that might be because they didn't know maybe how they were going to villain it at the end. Like maybe they were really kind of changing up how they thought. It seemed to me maybe they had more with Sabak at the end and were like, you know what, this stuff in the middle is working a lot better with the JSA and everything. Let's focus in on that. Because I did feel like the final fight was actually very kind of to the point and very done.
Right, because
I didn't
the main thing is like Dr. Fate, it sacrifices himself. He kind of sees the future, and Hawkman dies, and they're kind of talking about it, and he tells him, and he's like, well, this is what's going to happen. This is fate. But, he says, there's a way to change fate, and he does by sacrificing himself. But the Helm of Naboo, so it's still a thing. So we can get another Dr. Fate.
Yeah, so, and one other thing that didn't work for me was I like the idea of him coming to terms and realizing that he has to surrender, and like maybe this power is too much for him.
Yeah,
but I just didn't like that he
surrenders.
I didn't like that he just kind of went into the prison and then like immediately came out of the prison. Yeah. It just felt like that you could have done that in a different way and maybe still gotten the same effect.
Yeah, we go to like a Task Force X like
facility of some kind,
like in the middle of the ocean, and he's in there for all of like 7 minutes.
Yeah,
and then he comes back
and he's like right out. And it is funny. I didn't know if they were gonna do the thing of like get him to turn and then he'll die because he's 500 years old. Because in Superman 5,000. Thank you. In the Superman like Shazam animated movie,
still one I gotta watch.
Great one of my favorites. And what I hope that they're doing with this. Okay, I'm gonna finish my point. In that, they just have to. They keep the wizard just keeps banishing him to the other side of the universe, so he just has to keep flying back for like 5,000 years, and he's gonna do it again because he lost. And he's like, "Fuck it," and he just says Shazam. He turns back into his human self, but then immediately ages 5,000 years because his other body has been still aging. If you guys want a really interesting story that like talks about the mechanics of changing people, like you're going from a young boy to a big, like to the superhero man, like the kind of psychology. There's Alan Runn's Miracle Man run. It's so fucking Alan Moore. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because it kind of proposes this idea that they are two when they change. It's the similar idea. It's two different people. So when he changes to Miracle Man, I think he says like Atomica or something like that, or maybe it's Kimono because that's atomic spelled backwards. His younger self goes to somewhere else, and he stays as Miracle Man for like years. And when he changes back, he's like, I've been gone for like 5,000 years.
It's
really
funny,
interesting.
we've really never seen any comics, and there are some. Kingdom Come is one of them, where Shazam is an adult.
Yeah, and he just looks like himself.
Right.
That's just the point.
Shazam,
because it's supposed to be the idealized version of him, right? Is right. Kind of the point.
Yeah, but like we never like, and I guess I could be wrong. So use the comment section. Let us know if we are wrong, or like maybe some Shazam stuff we can talk about. But yeah, like, what happens to Billy like once he gets older, and like where does he go, and like there are a lot of questions, and like I'm not necessarily saying I need the answers, but even with Teth Adam, we don't really like. He's grown up, so he's always like that.
But that's the thing.
He never unsays Shazam. He's always in that form.
Exactly, and I mean you can see he looks like The Rock, but he still looks like the same man. He has the same head and same face, but he's
an adult.
He is physically even like the same.
I wonder if
like
that's
just
challenging
emaciated. I will say that CGI was not good.
I mean, they just need to make him look more normal.
They just needed more time. Again, I think that they didn't focus.
The shots are like few and far between. Where like
no, they are. So
I didn't bring it up because like it didn't seem egregious.
I agree, but I do think the shots were used, and I think that's why because they're so short and so little, they probably didn't like feel the need to focus that heavily on them.
Yeah,
but that's fine. It's okay. It works. So yeah, I don't know how that would work. I think because as Shazam, you just wouldn't even have to. Well, you'd get to an adult, you'd have the same face and same structure like that. But you just turn into a fucking buff, insane version of yourself, I guess. But in Kingdom Come, he does look exactly the same. So I guess his regular body.
We haven't really talked about his suit evolution because we do kind of get when he comes out, we have the cape and the hood.
Looks great.
In his like I guess original suit that is battle worn and aged.
Very dark. All the metal is like rusted and things like that.
An Eternium rocket kind of blows him up. We lose the cape, so we're just in the suit, and again the aged suit. And then when he gets his powers back at the gamma, like we're talking about, he gets his brand new suit, total gold lightning bolt, blue, gold boots, gold gloves, cape. He looks great.
It does look. He looks fucking fantastic.
Great.
No, and I did like the idea of him kind of. So him coming to terms with his powers made him even like the idealistic version of him. Like he has the pristine suit. You can tell he's like into it now almost, if that makes any sense. Right. And that works very well thematically, and god damn it. Oh, it looks so good.
I hate the line at the end. It's like, Teth Adam is a little old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't say Black Adam. But it's
I do
like,
hate when they do that in a movie.
Need that?
But then it cuts immediately to the after credit scene where she's like, Black Adam. Okay. Like she somehow knows that he's going by Black Adam now.
Yeah.
Anywho.
It's just like, I wish somebody would have like called him Black. Or like the kid. Maybe the kid just was like, how about Black Adam?
Yeah.
Like, instead of him, like, being like, I think I need a new name. Because, like, I don't really agree, but...
Yeah, I think...
Death Adam isn't that tough.
Yeah, I don't know how else... There's a definitely better way you can get to that, rather than him just being like, well...
Yeah.
Credit scene?
Let's do it.
All right, so
let me just get some
preface
shit clear. When The Rock fucking talks about this shit on the red carpet, and there are headlines about it, it isn't a spoiler.
No, but it is.
It is. The Rock decides to fucking
that's the
let
thing.
that
So
shit loose.
I will say that's what a lot of people are using as an excuse for like leaking it from those fucking events.
No, there was no
and
leak.
that's what.
There's no leak. The Rock just said
but people were taking videos of him and like it was apparent like they were taking videos of the final credit scene and being like, well, he spoiled it, so I can spoil. No, that's not how it works. And that's what I mean with that. Like, you don't have to share that article.
A little
then,
bit like, you know, like I saw that headline and I'm like, holy shit! Like, The Rock confirmed, Henry Cavill's back as Superman in the end credits scene of Black Adam, which he is.
Which he didn't like. He came as close as you can to saying it without saying it.
He's like, you know, the most powerful being on Earth going up against the most powerful being in the universe. And we're like, we know exactly who he's talking about because he's talked about so much about him and Superman fighting in the past. So, you know, Waller kind of is like, hey, listen, stay in line or I'll fucking make you
it's like, it's like, all right, I was going to keep you in prison, but now your prison's Kondak, so stay there.
Yeah,
and if you come
don't
out,
leave. And if you do, the red capes are coming.
Well,
baby.
And that's the thing. He's like, no one on Earth can stop me. And she's like, I know friends. I have a few favors with some friends that aren't from Earth.
It's interesting that Superman usually is not in a Waller's pocket. It's usually Bruce Wayne and Batman who are.
They usually have you're right. Who has communication with her more than that?
Right.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see. It's like, okay, like clearly.
I think
Clark
maybe you can do
Waller
that connection because you know the line from the Suicide Squad. What's his name? Put him in the ICU with a kryptonite bullet. Deadshot. Not Deadshot. The other guy from the second one. Bloodshot. They're too close.
No. Is it Bloodshot?
Oh, Bloodsport.
Bloodsport. I was like, no, it's not. I was like,
I actually just watched that the other day again with my girlfriend. Still very great movie, but my favorite DC movie by far. So maybe you can. That is your kind of peripheral connection of like maybe she knew he was coming, so she saved him, or I don't know. So I think that line kind of works for me. And then you see Henry.
So let's talk about the scene, and then we'll talk about what this means.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yes, he, like Waller said, I have friends not from Earth that can take care of you. And then he's like, okay, sure, and blows up the drone, and then through the smoke. With the Jerry curl what's that called? With the curl itself is Superman.
New
Henry
suit.
Cavill. Yeah, it seems like same
suit, different color,
more vibrant. I'm hoping they get rid of some of the muscles on that. I hope because I couldn't see the muscles in this one. I hope they go along.
I need a 4K still.
I do.
I need it.
The way that The Rock, and I gotta give him credit, to put no padding in that suit.
Yeah.
It's all him.
It's all him.
And you can fucking do that with Henry Cavill. You don't need those.
I mean, he did it in Man of Steel.
No, he doesn't. He has
Well,
it's very light, but they have like accentuators underneath. Maybe not as much in Man of Steel.
The colors accentuate him, like the shading.
So do you know they actually in the later movies they put this muscle sheet under him of silver that makes it like shine underneath his actual suit. That's in Justice League, I know for sure. I don't know if it's in Man of Steel
or Josh's.
I think it's but well you see I guess you don't see the red suit in that one, so I guess
true.
No, but they might still use it on. Well, that was a completely recolored suit. That they didn't make those suits, so
correct.
So that could just be that. So, anywho, put Henry Cavill in just a skin tight Superman suit. Why aren't we doing that?
Don't complain.
No, I am gonna. No. This one looked good. You can't really tell in this one.
Yeah, it's
you
dark
really
and
get
it's
like
quick.
a fucking an upshot of him, and then he's like Black Adam, let's talk or something like that, right?
And then what does he say something back?
I think he just kind of smirks.
Yeah,
but
I think you're right,
dude.
And apparently
He looks so good.
This is the Joss's cut shit coming in. So they play the Superman movie theme. I guess it's very light and it's not
The John Williams theme.
And I'm just like, fucking kill me. No.
Gooch didn't even hear it in the
Superman
movie.
has a theme. What's your name? Danny Elfman, you fucking asshole.
Danny Elfman didn't do that one.
I know, but he criticized Batman's theme from Hans Zimmer. So Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel theme, that's his fucking theme, and I don't want to fucking hear another word.
Fair enough. I
Stop
will give it.
using
That's
the
my.
old theme.
That's my.
Stop.
Well, that
Stop.
and that theme's just great. I will say. I'm not a big fan.
If somehow Christopher Reeve comes out of the fucking grave, then we can use his theme.
I'm not a fan of
Jesus.
the Batman theme personally, but that Superman theme is.
It's iconic, but it's not Henry Cavill Man of Steel.
No, I'm talking about Man of Steel theme. No, like that is.
Oh yes.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. It's so good.
It's fucking.
It's
fantastic.
sexual. Honestly,
It's
in my
sexual.
opinion. Yeah,
It makes you get
it
your
gets
hard?
me going. Yeah,
Nice.
it really does.
That's
It makes
what I
my
like
heart
to hear.
flutter, and
That
I
makes
love
me
it.
hard.
But so the gods have been answered. The gods have answered, and Superman has a future.
Okay, so
in this.
here's my thing. So we haven't heard Henry Cavill talk about this, and I assume is what's that show he's in with not Maisie Williams?
The movie Enola Holmes.
Is it Enola Holmes? Is that what it's called?
It's a movie. Yeah, it's like he's Sherlock in that.
Right.
Yeah,
So is that out?
it's coming out. It's already been filmed.
Okay, so when they do the press, we're gonna hear about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Someone's gonna ask him
Yeah.
about it. So, and I was gonna say Witcher season 3, but I'm like, he's got to have some other projects in between now and then. So I guess.
He's been. I thought they've been filming season 3 already.
Yeah, but they haven't done press yet. So
True.
when he's
Yeah,
in an interview,
I see what you're saying.
Somebody's gonna fucking ask
they
him
absolutely-
about it because he's been weird and cagey about it for years.
Well, because
remember
I think
when he
he's
just like
been-
holds up the Superman doll and there's like this music on the background, like clearly like. And I think you said it to me the other day. Like Henry Cavill's never not wanted to play Superman, but the suits of WB didn't want him to be Superman. Or
I was like,
I
was like, did Henry Cavill kill a baby on set?
and
What is going on? Why don't you guys want
The
him?
real reason WB didn't want it is because he was Snyder's dude,
Yeah, but I mean, see,
and they're all Snyder's dudes.
I disagree with that because we got Wonder Woman and Aquaman. I just think they don't know what to do with the character. They're too afraid to try.
Insane.
It's so dumb. You have
like,
so
when
many
bring
people
up,
coming in
It's been like 10 years since we haven't had a Superman movie. That's wild.
that we didn't even get a proper follow up to Man of Steel. It
need
is
that
mind boggling.
follow-up.
And
We need Zach back. Bring
Sure.
Zach back. Restore the Snyderverse. I'm fucking done. I don't like. I'm curious is to hear like, is this the Snyderverse version?
doesn't
or-
seem like it to me at all. Like,
in
it
my
really
head
feels
canon,
like
it is.
I'm never gonna say never again, Gooch, since the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
But right now,
We haven't
I
talked
would be
about the Snyder
very.
Cut in a while.
I would be very. So they seem to be very much being like that's its own thing. We're not really continuing off of that. This doesn't seem to be like retconning in what happened in the Snyder Cut.
No,
at all.
it doesn't do any of that. But
We gotta take the win on that one.
I'll hope.
But no, keep hoping. I love it. Don't let it die. Don't let the dream die.
You know what that S means?
Hope. It's a symbol for hope. This isn't Gooch. That isn't
You
an
know
S.
what this means, right?
Gooch. That isn't an S.
True.
It's a symbol for hope.
True.
Yeah, we've been begging for this for years,
Right.
and it just
And
seemed like
it's good.
such
It's
an.
good to see.
It just felt like such an easy win for them too. To bring like if they brought him back earlier, everyone would be like, "Cool, that's
Right.
awesome."
Nobody's complaining.
And even-
everyone, it's only positive.
Rock, my friend, Dwayne was saying that they literally just kept saying no.
So,
They were just like every time he would talk up
WB or Henry Cavill?
WB. Because apparently he's been going in there for years with pitches of like maybe we could do this, maybe we could do.
And that was what I wanted to ask next. Like, how do you think that's happened?
I think
Is it because of the changes of WB going on?
I think that's part of
that
it.
Old guard is gone. The people who were saying no are gone, and now that there's new guys in, but Dwayne is a producer and he's been there for a little bit,
and he has a
lot of-
fucking head on his shoulders that
and he's
is
got
like
a lot of control, and they're like, do it.
like I said, this would have. You see it all the time. God, I love Henry Cavill. Even the people who don't necessarily love Man of Steel and like Batman vs Superman enjoy him in the role. It just feels like
I need Man of Steel 2.
such an easy win, and The Rock's like, why wouldn't we? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it seems so dumb to me.
You made some comments before about like the fact that you didn't like. It's funny. You're much more negative via text than you are in person.
Sure.
About this stuff.
About what?
About like how The Rock is like now like involved in DC projects. And
I
you
was
said
afraid.
You didn't really like that.
I was afraid that he was going to he was the new center of the universe, which he kind of has made himself.
Yes,
and I was
definitely made himself, for sure.
But I was alleviated throughout this whole film. And I felt like he does kind of care about what's going on. I do think
he
him
doesn't
bringing
swing
back
his dick around in this
not
movie.
as much as I was expecting.
He does when he's talking about it.
I would love to,
and I think he's just happy to do it. Just like Ryan Reynolds is happy to talk about Deadpool.
Sure.
He's been championing that for years.
My perfect scenario for this is, I don't know, Shazam. I don't know how this would work and in what movies.
Right.
But you have Black
Shazam's
Adam
next.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
You have Black, or it might be Aquaman. I don't know.
I think you're actually right. I forgot about that movie too.
Superman.
We're gonna be having the same Snyder Cut debate because of Amber Heard.
That's so true. I feel like she's probably not gonna be in that movie. I really don't think she will be. But we'll see. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
Black Adam fights Superman, beats him because
Really?
Superman, he's not so good with magic. Magic seems to be one of his major issues.
Yes.
Shazam.
Any fan of Superman would know that.
He has to. Thank you. He needs some help, and who else but Shazam could take this guy?
I mean, like, how many magical characters? I mean, like, you know, this isn't necessarily our introduction into magic in the DCEU, but it kind of is. It is and it isn't. It's like a second. It's like our
because I mean, you had like what's her name in Suicide Squad?
Right, we had
the witch
Enchantress.
Chick, yeah, Enchantress.
We've had Billy Batson and Shazam. And now we're just getting more of it, and we also have Dr. Fate. And I feel like I like how DC kind of takes the approach of not necessarily explaining it, where Marvel definitely seems like they needed to. And I think it's because
I think that was a product of the time too.
I think it's because they also went so deep without it. Then now they gotta
Well,
like,
at first it was like magic is science that you don't understand, like in Thor. Like that was kind of how they explained it. And then Doctor Strange came along and like, oh no, it's just magic.
No, you know though there is magic.
There is magic, but that's very advanced technology,
really,
which looks like magic.
The Asgardians necessarily.
Not really. They've seemed to be a bit more magical, but they still could. You could say
I think that still applies.
Yeah, you could still apply that to them.
I don't think.
No, I agree.
Anyway.
Yeah, man. Overall, Shazam's a fun time. Is it gonna rock your world story wise? No.
I think it's got some cool themes that, like, you know,
you don't see in other movies, in other superhero movies for sure.
Explores in a very different way, you know, with like racially,
cultural themes and stuff like that for sure.
But it's entirely different. It's not the same. It's honestly probably a better analog because it's more real.
Yeah.
If anything, whereas Wakanda, we don't have
is much more fantastical.
We don't have this like xenophobic nation that was hiding for like X amount of years and just came
it's
out
not
of,
even not even like
out of the woodwork and is now
no, yeah, you don't have this exactly this it's not like advanced technologically. It's almost been left behind, almost even at Kondak. And it's cool. It's very interesting. And again, I think those themes of, you know, whatever imperialism, stuff like that, it works in this movie, and it's something, and it doesn't work, and it's not beating you over the head with it. It just works. It's used as part of the story. It's an interesting theme. And it's a cool question to pose. And again, that whole dichotomy between the Justice Society and Black Adam is where this movie sits at its strongest. And I wish they focused a bit more in on
javelin. I don't know if that's what it's called, but the javelin.
They completely changed that. If you watch the first,
you said that to me, and I didn't know what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure the first trailer is online. It looks totally different from the outside. The inside still looked the same.
Maybe follow up and get me the side.
I will. I'll have to, because I remember someone showed, and they also changed the color grading on the flashbacks a lot. It was kind of that classic, like, oh, you know, whenever
orange.
you go to like, oh yeah, that like a sunny country or whatever, or like a Middle Eastern country, it's always super orange.
Yeah.
And this, it's more now. They made it a lot lighter. It almost looked more like, I don't even know how to describe dream-like. Maybe, I don't know. So interesting stuff. If you go back and look at those trailers, they definitely were changing up some things. Sabak. Who cares? Gooch, is that it?
That's it, man.
Guys, girls, anyone who's been watching, thank you so much for joining us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. We very much appreciate your viewership. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We're on all the social medias as well. Delco Nerds on mostly everything. We got a Facebook page. We got a Discord channel, which all should be linked down below. All this information can be found on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. You can email us, delconerds@gmail.com, with all your comments, questions, or concerns. We would be happy to get back to you. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching. Stay nerdy, guys, and we will see you next time.